What comes to mind when we ask for a finance strategic moment?
Yeah. So when I think about a strategic moment, like what does that mean to me? It means how did it help me shape my thinking going forward, where I would basically constantly look back and to say that was a foundational period where the learnings were plentiful. If I go back to the 2016 and 17 period, I was running an investment fund, and we were very close with a internet marketplace, a public company that was a internet marketplace, and it was a mission driven company that was focusing on the artisan space and had a real cultural fanfare with it. But when you looked at the finances of the company, they were really underperforming, and so you had this dichotomy, if you will, between a great customer experience, a really good ecosystem, and a poor financial profile. And one of the things that we did from an investment standpoint is that we really got quite close to management and the board, and involved with letters and insights and trying to either help educate or politely push and prod on ways that they could run the business, particularly from a financial metric standpoint, that can both allow them to fulfill their mission, but also create a sustainable economic engine that allowed them to be there for a long time. And one of the reason why it was such a moment in time for me is we really pulled back the curtain, if you will, on what were the mistakes that they were making and what was driving those mistakes. And a lot of it you started to see were the differences in either insight or influence between the CFO and the CEO, how the board was or was not involved, mostly not involved relative to what was happening at the company. And what got misplaced in the messaging, I think, to the company and the employees themselves is that the mission outweighed the capitalist mindset, if you will. And I think the mistake in that was that in order to fulfill your long-term mission, you also have to be a profitable, sustainable company, so that way you can continue to reinvest and give your ecosystem, your customers, more goodness over time, so they can continue to flourish and the business can continue to grow. And it's a quite interrelated relationship between wanting to grow the business and grow profits while also serving the customer very well. And they're not at odds with each other. And that insight and that moment in time, the relationships and the conversations, the influence and the outcomes were foundational to basically everything that we did, even the investment business after that, and certainly in my thoughts and decision making at Acorns. I had dinner last Friday night with another couple. They were talking about their teenage kids, saying that they wanted to educate them financially. They asked me, what couple stocks should the kids follow to learn and whatever. And I was like, that's great in theory. But the reality is if you think about long-term investing, what Acorns does in terms of diversified portfolios, that's really the best way to invest and think about long-term wealth accumulation. Within that, I was like, there's 2 books, and ended up saying, like, you should have your kids read these 2 books, and then let's go talk about it. In fact, I said they should probably read them twice. If they read them twice, maybe even underline them like a textbook, you get a lot out of them. So it was Automatic Millionaire was one of them, and then the other one was The Psychology of Money. And collectively, these 2 books, I think, really cement one, the power and benefit of starting early, starting small, making investing a habit, how to think about the conversation where people get stuck of, I have nothing left at the end of the month, how to reverse that mentality and get themselves started. Then there's all the emotional roller coasters that come with money, and how there might be a textbook about how to deal with money, but money is an emotion, and there's that emotional connectivity comes from whether it's our childhood or other experiences that we've had. And I think both books break them down really well.
Wondering what your CFO priorities would be for the next 12 months. What would those be?
So for us at Acorns, the key thing is we have a very rich roadmap of what we're trying to accomplish. We take our mission seriously, and we think that the opportunity to bring a whole suite of tools of financial wealth making to Americans and abroad doesn't exist in the way that we want to do it from a systematic approach. So So that's the backdrop of my answer. And so my answer within that is, how do we do that in the most focused way? How do you put the most amount of wood behind the fewest arrows to have the biggest impact for the customer, but to do it from an efficiency standpoint, to do it with the resources that we have, to think about incremental investments in a thoughtful manner so you can drive great customer behavior, great economic opportunities for the company, but be able to also leverage our profits all at the same time. And I think that efficiency and focus is hard. When you look at the world of opportunities, there's so many things out there. So that's the most important thing. I think my other job in terms of looking forward is to also just be the constant worrier about what could go wrong. Right. I mean, I just think it's appropriate as a CFO to balance opportunity with risk. And, the world is always dynamic. I actually don't ascribe to the theory that like it's worse today than ever before, because, actually, it's really funny. My wife has a series of Time magazine covers from the 1960s, and you look at them, and it's like all the same topics that we see today. And so, generationally, like we've been here 100 times. But the point being, lots of unknowns can constantly happen. And in the world of unknowns, how do you make sure that you're allowing the business to stay protected while also leaning forward and be aggressive in the places it needs to be? And so, balancing efficiency and focus with prudence is where I spend my time.